How could a $1 candy bar unravel a billion-dollar legacy? The question echoed in Andrew Whitman's mind as he stared at the crushed bicycle lying beneath his Maserati. The street was alive with honking horns and impatient pedestrians. Yet everything around him fell silent the moment he saw the emerald necklace glinting at the neck of a tear-streaked little girl. That necklace should have been buried with a woman who vanished 15 years ago. The morning had begun like any other for Andrew. 32, handsome in a tailored navy suit and ruthless in the boardroom. He'd been on his way to seal a 9-figure deal with Chinese investors at the Langford Hotel. His Maserati cut through Manhattan traffic like a blade. He was 3 minutes late, unacceptable in his world. At the same time, Sophie Whitman, just 9 years old, was arranging candy bars into neat little rows inside a rusted basket hanging off her battered bicycle. Her corner shop was a slice of sidewalk on Lexington and 53rd, where she sold sweets to morning commuters. Her cardboard sign read in messy handwriting, "Candy $1, help me go to school." She wore a worn hoodie with sleeves too long and sneakers that had seen better years. Hidden beneath her sweater was an emerald pendant, the only thing her mother ever told her never to lose. The light turned red. Sophie edged her bike near the crosswalk, preparing to smile at hurried strangers. Andrew's phone buzzed. "Where are you?" barked his assistant. "The Beijing team's waiting." 5 minutes, Andrew muttered, eyes flicking between traffic and his GPS. He gunned the engine through a yellow light. A coffee cart wobbled. His Maserati clipped the edge. Overcorrecting, the rear swung wide, crunch. Candy bars exploded across the street like confetti. The front wheel of Sophie's bike crumpled. The frame bent. She stumbled back as the car hissed to a stop. People screamed. Phones came out. A woman gasped. "He hit that girl's bike." Andrew stepped out, jaw tight. His expensive shoes clicked against asphalt. "Are you all right?" he asked, irritated but trying to sound concerned. "I'll pay for the bike." But then he saw it. The emerald hanging from Sophie's neck, catching the morning sun, its silver setting carved with roses. Identical to the necklace he had given Isabel Cruz, the woman who'd raised him, the only person who ever truly loved him. She had vanished when he was 17. No note, no goodbye, just gone. And now her necklace was here, on this child. "Where did you get that?" His voice cracked. Sophie, trembling but unafraid, looked up at him. "It was my mom's," she said. "She said someone special gave it to her. Told me to never lose it." The air shifted. The sounds of the city returned in waves. Horns, chatter, a dog barking. Andrew's heart slammed against his ribs. What was her name? She hesitated. Grace. Grace Whitman. But sometimes I heard her cry at night. She whispered another name. Isabel. The name hit Andrew like a punch. Isabel Cruz. The woman who tied his shoes, made him soup, and hugged him when his parents were too busy building empires to remember his birthday. And now, standing before him, was her daughter, possibly his sister. He didn't care about the investors anymore. He didn't care about the ruined Maserati. He knelt beside the mangled bike, seeing not metal, but the past he thought was buried. 15 years collapsed into one shattering moment. His phone buzzed again. This time, he didn't answer. That evening in his penthouse office at the top of Whitman Tower, Andrew flipped through documents, surveillance photos, and hospital bills. His private investigator, Thomas Reed, sat across from him with a grim face. Her real name was Isabel Cruz, Thomas confirmed, sliding over a birth certificate and immigration documents. Changed her identity in 2010 to Grace Whitman. No records before that. She just appeared. And Madison? Andrew asked quietly. The daughter. Born at Manhattan General. No father listed, but... Thomas hesitated. The birth was paid for by a holding company connected to your father's firm. Andrew's blood went cold. You're saying my father knew, he whispered. Thomas nodded. Looks like hush money. Monthly transfers. Stopped 6 months ago. Right when Isabel died, Andrew muttered. He stood, walked to the window. New York glittered below, unaware that the foundation of one of its oldest empires was beginning to crack. His phone rang again. This time, Margaret Whitman. Darling, she said with forced lightness. Your father mentioned you missed the Beijing meeting. Is everything all right? Mom, do you remember Isabel Cruz? A pause. Then, the housekeeper. Yes. Why? Why did she leave? Another pause. Your father said she stole jewelry. He handled it quietly. The necklace, the gift Andrew had bought with his first stock market earnings. The one he gave Isabel. His father had known. Lied. Buried it. Mom, he said, his voice tight. I need to see you. Not at the house. Somewhere private. That night, as Andrew lay in bed sleepless, he stared at an old photo of Isabel. Young, warm, smiling, and the thought that refused to leave him. What if Madison is my sister? What else has my father buried? He reached for his phone. Thomas, drop everything else. I want everything on Richard Whitman's connection to Isabel Cruz. I don't care how far you have to dig. Outside, the city roared on, unaware that a single moment, a $1 candy bar, a broken bike, and a child with her mother's necklace had awakened a secret 15 years in the making. Andrew Whitman had always believed his life was perfectly compartmentalized. Business was war. Family was a formality. Emotions, he left those to other people. But everything changed the moment he saw that emerald pendant on a little girl's chest. And now his carefully curated world was cracking open. And what lay beneath was darker than he ever imagined. He sat in the corner of his penthouse office, the city sprawling beneath him like a lie told so often it started to look like truth. The more he dug, the more everything he thought he knew unraveled. Thomas Reed, his private investigator, was back, this time with a red folder in hand and a look that could only mean trouble. Grace Whitman was never real, Thomas said, dropping the folder on the table. Her real name was Isabel Cruz. She entered the U.S. undocumented in 1994. Worked as a housekeeper for your family. Disappeared in 2009. Andrew opened the file. A driver's license, medical records, photos, and one birth certificate. Sophie Whitman. Mother's name, Grace Whitman. Father unknown. But here's where it gets interesting, Thomas said. The birth was paid for by a shell company, traced at one of the many fronts your father's holding group uses for personal operations. Andrew didn't speak. He stared at the photo of Grace Isabel, older, tired, but undeniably her. The same eyes, the same smile that once made him believe home was more than just a location. I also ran a check on hospital bills, cash transfers, and property rentals, Thomas added. Your father's been paying her a lot for years. Monthly. Always through offshore accounts. Andrew leaned back, throat dry. Blackmail or something worse, Thomas said. Andrew's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered, cautious. A voice, gravelly and slow, spilled into the receiver. You've been asking about Isabel Cruz. Meet me tomorrow. Midnight. Evergreen Cemetery. Come alone. Or the truth dies with me. Before he could respond, the line went dead. The next morning, his Maserati's windshield was shattered. A single phrase sprayed in red paint across the glass. Stop digging. Back in his office, Thomas was already poring over financial records. Your father made consistent monthly cash transfers to an account in the Cayman Islands. They stopped 6 months ago, right when Grace died. Andrew's jaw tightened. My mother told me Isabel left because she stole a necklace. My necklace? The one I gave her. That's not a coincidence. He framed her. He made her disappear. He opened a locked drawer in his desk, pulling out a small velvet box. Inside was a second necklace. Identical emerald. Identical silver rose setting. He had bought 2. One for her. One he kept. A reminder. He held the 2 side by side. Identical in every way. Thomas, he said. I want everything. All of it. Every email, every wire transfer, every conversation between Richard Whitman and Grace. Go deep. That won't be easy. Your father's not sloppy. I don't care, Andrew snapped. That girl Sophie, she's connected to me. And I need to know how deep the rot goes. That night, Evergreen Cemetery was drenched in fog. The kind of fog that wrapped around your neck like a warning. Andrew parked at the edge. His coat collar turned up against the chill. A man stepped from the shadows, thin, pale, nervous. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in a decade. You were close to Isabel, the man said. How do you know that I'm the one who helped her disappear? Andrew's breath caught. She didn't run. She was pushed. Your father gave her a choice. Vanish or face fabricated charges. Immigration. Theft. Abuse. Everything your family's lawyers could throw at her. She was undocumented. She had no chance. Andrew's chest burned. Why would he go that far? The man hesitated. Because she was pregnant. The words hung in the air heavier than the fog. Andrew blinked. Are you saying? She begged me not to tell you. She said it would ruin you both. That Richard would destroy anyone who got in his way. But I was adopted, Andrew whispered. My parents couldn't have kids. The man shook his head. That's the story, but it's not the truth. A beat of silence. Your mother Margaret was already pregnant when they adopted you. The adoption covered a 9-month gap. Sleight of hand. You were their son, but not by birth. The timeline fits. Andrew stumbled backward. It felt like the ground itself was shifting. I ran DNA tests on old hospital samples, the man said, pulling out a sealed envelope. Isabel's daughter and you, full siblings. Same mother. Same blood. Andrew opened the envelope with trembling fingers. His name. Sophie's. And between them the irrefutable evidence. Full sibling match. A slow rage rose inside him. He buried her. He buried both of us. And now she's gone. The man reached into his coat and handed over a worn letter. She wrote this for you. Said you'd come looking one day. Andrew unfolded the note. My dearest Andrew, if you're reading this, you found her. She's yours as much as she was mine. Protect her. The emerald isn't just jewelry. It's a key to secrets your father would kill to keep buried. I'm sorry I left. I'm sorry I couldn't stay, but I never stopped loving you. Neither did she. Isabel. Andrew closed his eyes. A cold wind blew through the trees. Sophie was his sister, and she was wearing a target around her neck. He turned to the man. Does my father know she's still in the city? The man hesitated. He will soon. Andrew didn't wait. He called Thomas. I need security. Ghost protocol. Invisible surveillance around a child. Sophie Whitman. Start now. You know that level of detail is for family only. She is family, Andrew said, steel in his voice. Back at Whitman Tower, he stared out at the city skyline. Each light now felt like a lie. His father hadn't just manipulated people. He had rewritten their lives, their identities, their bloodlines. Tomorrow, he would confront Richard Whitman, and nothing would ever be the same. But tonight, he sat in the dark watching live surveillance feeds of a tiny apartment in Brooklyn, where a little girl clutched a teddy bear and wore an emerald that could bring down an empire. And all Andrew could think was, who else knows she exists? And what will they do to silence her? Richard Whitman had always been 10 steps ahead. That's how he built an empire. That's how he erased Isabel Cruz. That's how he kept his son Andrew obedient and blind for 3 decades. But now the game had changed. And Richard hadn't seen it coming. Andrew stood in front of the massive steel door to his father's private vault at the top of Whitman Tower. The keypad blinked, waiting. He hesitated for only a second before typing in the code. Margaret's birthday. The same one it had always been. The lock clicked open. Inside, mahogany shelves lined with meticulously labeled files whispered of secrets far deeper than money. Mumbai Project. Senator Blackwell. Vance Accord. But one folder, red and unassuming, stopped Andrew's breath cold. Cruz termination, confidential. He opened it. Pages slid out. A $2 million settlement agreement, dated April 2009. A forced identity change. A chilling clause. If subject violates terms, secondary protocol shall be enacted. Below it, medical records. Pregnancy confirmation. Father's name blacked out, except the document bore the logo of the family's private physician. Dr. Alan Brooks. Andrew's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text, check the 3rd drawer. Label M. A friend. Heart pounding, Andrew pulled open the drawer. Inside was a small USB drive labeled insurance. Back at his office, he plugged it in. A video file opened. Richard sat at his desk across from a visibly pregnant Isabel. You understand the agreement? His voice was ice. Yes, Mr. Whitman. But Andrew, can I at least say goodbye? Andrew is no longer your concern. Sign the papers. The video jumped. Isabel sat alone, crying, clutching the emerald necklace. I'm keeping this, she whispered. It's the only thing that's truly mine. Another file. Hidden surveillance photos tracked Isabel across cities, Chicago, Denver. Finally, New York. Always watching, always hunted. Then a DNA report. Unredacted. Andrew dropped into his chair. Sophie wasn't just Isabel's daughter. She was Richard Whitman's. Andrew's half-sister. A child born from power, discarded like a liability. He dialed Thomas Reed. Forget subtle. I need everything on Richard. Hush money, secret properties, communication records. Bring it all. Andrew, Thomas said, there's more. That contact at Evergreen Cemetery. It matched voice records from our system. It's Dr. Brooks. Andrew blinked. Our family physician. Yeah, and he's got more than you think. An hour later, Andrew was in Brooks' study. Whiskey trembled in the doctor's hands. She begged me not to falsify the test, Brooks said. But Richard paid me. I created the Grace Whitman identity, fabricated medical records, and the paternity results. You knew she was pregnant. Yes, with Sophie. But that's not all. Andrew leaned forward. You were adopted, Andrew. Margaret couldn't have children. Richard arranged the adoption privately. No agency. No paper trail. But Isabel found the truth in an old document. That's why he started the affair with her. To keep her quiet. Andrew stood in silence. His heart felt like glass. I have one more thing, Brooks said, pushing over a key. Safety deposit box. Madison Avenue Bank. Box 472. Andrew opened the box the next morning. Inside were real DNA samples, real records, and a letter from Isabel. If you found this, then you know. Protect her. Don't let him win. The necklace holds more than memories. Check the clasp. He did. The necklace clicked. A tiny compartment popped open. Inside, a micro SD card. Video files. Isabel, gaunt and sick. If someone sees this, please protect my daughter. Richard Whitman poisoned me when I refused to leave New York. He thought it would be slow, untraceable, lung cancer. But I knew. I've recorded everything. His blackmail payments, the hidden facility in Vermont, what he's done to others, children. Coordinates appeared on screen, Blackage Institute, Vermont. Andrew's blood turned to ice. Back at Whitman Tower, Thomas burst through the door. He knows you've accessed the vault. And Andrew, Sophie's apartment was breached 10 minutes ago. She's gone. Andrew's world stopped. Get the car, he barked. Now. A live feed blinked to life on his phone. A black SUV pulling out of an underground garage. A little girl, terrified, pressed to the window. Sophie. Then a call. Richard's voice, smooth as ever. Missing something, son? If you hurt her. She's my daughter, Andrew. I'm simply relocating her. Switzerland. Best education money can buy. You can't do this. I already have. Andrew stared out the window, fury rising. He called Claire Harrington, his attorney fiancée. Emergency custody papers. Now. For who, my sister? Bring your father, she said coldly. I know a judge who owes us favors. The final showdown came the next night inside the Whitman estate. Richard stood with 2 Russian businessmen at his side. Andrew entered alone. You broke into my office. Stirred up old stories. You buried a woman. Lied to your wife. Your son. To me. She was never meant to stay. She was the only one who ever showed me real love. You're weak, Andrew. Just like her. Andrew threw the DNA reports on the desk. She wasn't a fling. She was the mother of your child. Sophie is your daughter. And I'll burn your empire down if you try to hide it again. Sirens wailed in the distance. Red and blue lights lit the windows. You called the FBI? Richard sneered. No. She did. Andrew gestured. Margaret Whitman stepped into the room, holding a folder of damning evidence. 30 years of silence ends tonight, she said. Richard tried to run. Agents swarmed the estate. The Russians arrested. The empire collapsed. 3 days later, in a courtroom packed with cameras and whispers, Andrew stood before a judge, holding Sophie's hand. I request full custody, he said. She's my sister, and she deserves a life without shadows. The judge looked at the files, then at Sophie, who clutched her teddy bear and necklace. Granted. Afterward, outside the courthouse, Margaret embraced Sophie for the first time. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I should have protected you. Both of you. Sophie smiled, a little unsure, but hopeful. Back at the Langford Hotel, Andrew stood in front of the press. I was raised in lies, he said. But today I choose truth. And from now on, this family will be built on nothing else. Sophie stood beside him, radiant in a green dress. The emerald necklace catching the light. Once a symbol of secrets, now a beacon of hope. She looked up at him. We're really family now. Andrew knelt to her eye level. We always were. And for the first time in years, he felt like he wasn't alone. Now, tell us, what do you think about this story? Were you surprised by the truth about Andrew and Sophie? If this story touched you, comment 100 below and let us know what country you are watching from. Share this video with someone who believes in second chances, because sometimes the biggest twists in life are the ones that lead us.